This is going to be a ginormous video, so timestamps are available if you want to stroll through parts of this video. That out of the way, let's get straight to the video. So, the tiering system actually has 11 tiers, but in this video, I will also talk about a tier which is not mentioned in either of the two of the most popular tiering systems, which is tier 12. The two tiering systems which is the reference for this video are Versus Battle Wiki and Character Stats and Profile Wiki for current status. These two are the best tiering systems available online. So yeah, let's start with the unmentioned lowest tier of the tiering system, which is the tier 12 or the intrafictional tier. Even though this tier does not exist in either of the tiering system, this tier is worth to be mentioned as it is incomparably lower than the lowest tier in the tiering system, which is tier 11C or also known as zero-dimensional. Tier 12 is for characters who are intrafictional or those characters who are fictional inside fiction. For example, character like Murphy's Law is prime example for this tier as he is an intrafictional construct existing in the SCP verse. Tier 12 characters are below zero-dimensional characters, as at one side, zero-dimensional characters still exist as a point with no dimensions in a reality, whereas tier 12 characters have no existence in reality. They are completely inferior to the realm of reality, which a zero-dimensional being exists in. So in comparison to a zero-dimensional being, characters of these tier are non-existent. Therefore, characters of this range deserve to be put on an entirely inferior tier, lower than tier 11, as they are vastly inferior in comparison to them, and that tier is tier 12, the tier for intrafictional characters. Tier 12 could also hold different categories inside it. For example, Tier 12A would hold characters who are fictional inside of fictional verse, basically one layer of fiction inside of fiction. Tier 12B would have finite layers below 12A, meaning more fictional layers than just one layer inside fiction, therefore layers of fiction inside fiction, but in a finite amount, like 10 layers inside fiction, 1,000 layers inside fiction, million layers inside fiction, etc. And below 12B would be tier 12C, which means below infinite layers of fiction inside fiction. Tier 12C is so small that regardless how low 12B could get, it would still undefinably dwarf tier 12C. There could be layers to 12C based on the level of infinity which is presented. So the higher the level of infinity, which displays the depth of fiction inside fiction, the lower it would get inside tier 12C. So tier 12C basically works on levels of infinity used to scale a character from outer versal to tier 0 and beyond, but in a reversed pattern in terms of higher scaling. Tier 12 is therefore a bit complex tier due to this many layers consisted inside of a single tier, but it still is a necessary tier and more characters of this level would emerge in future. There is nothing below tier 12. Anything below this is just plain nonsense. Tier 12 is the definitive lowest tier and nothing is below that. Only way to go below this is by using fallacies. That means without nonsensical statements it is not possible to go below it. So yeah, that's tier 12, the lowest tier of scaling system. After tier 12, next is tier 11, and tier 11 is split into 3 separate categories. Tier 11 contains lower dimensional characters, and by lower dimensional, we mean the 3 dimensions below 3-dimensional scale, which are 2-dimensional, 1-dimensional, and 0-dimensional. So basically dimensions below 3-dimensional plane fall under this tier, and the highest category in this tier is tier 11A. In VSB Wiki, this category is called High Hypoverse, and in CSAP, it is called Plane Level. This category involves beings who are 2-dimensional, which means beings who lack 1 dimension from 3D, which is depth. Shapes like square, circle, and rectangle are 2-dimensional shapes, so a character who is 2D would be made up of similar proportions. Just like how any of these shapes lack the dimension of depth, a 2D character would also lack depth. So 2-dimensional characters fill up the category of tier 11A. Lower than this we have tier 11B, the 1-dimensionals, also known as hypoverse level or line level in the respective wikis. 1-dimensional, as the name suggests, is regarding character who not only lack depth, but also height. These characters only have 1 dimension, and that is length. Characters on this level would have been made up of similar proportions to that of a line. And below even this is the zero-dimensional, which fall under the category of Tier 11C. Tier 11C contains beings who have no dimensions at all. They lack all the dimensions and are just a dimensionless point. Character who can be scaled as zero-dimensional is Monarch of Pointland from Flatterland. Mop is literally the definition of a zero-dimensional being, and is perfect to portray this scale. All the three categories together form Tier 11 of the scaling system, which is also known as infinitesimal level. The reason for this name is due to the gap between these dimensions. The gap between a three-dimensional being and two-dimensional being is infinitely big. And similar to that, the gap between other lower dimensions and the dimension above them is also infinite, and compared to the higher dimension, they are just infinitesimal. So that sums up everything about Tier 11 and its subcategories. Moving ahead, we now enter the three-dimensional world of scale, and it starts from human level. Even though I think there is a big gap between Tier 11 and 10, as categories or a complete separate tier can be made for characters on microscopic level which could fill this huge gap between Tier 11 and 10. But regardless of that, for now, we will just continue with what we have. Tier 10 contains all the level of humans from weakest to below average, to average, and then to peak level of human capabilities. This tier is split into three categories: Tier 10C for weak or below average level human, Tier 10B for average or normal level human, and Tier 10A for an athletic level human. There is not much need for any specification in this category. It is simple and straight to understand. Characters on this level are basically any normal human character in any show or series. Some are weak, some are strong, but the main fact is that they are still human. With that being said, the next tier is for characters who are not just normal level humans. The characters in this tier are called superhumans due to their capability exceeding that of a human's peak limit. The Tier 9, similar to previous tiers, also has three subcategories, and they are street level, wall level, and small building level. Street level, also referred to as Tier 9C, is for characters who exceed the peak human capabilities of a normal human. By street level, they don't mean being able to destroy a street or anything, because being able to destroy a street is comparatively greater than that of destroying a wall. By street level, they mean that a fight between a character of this level would be contained inside a street. A fight between two characters on this level would be on scale of a street level. Characters like John Wick or other one-man army characters without weapons and just with pure hand-to-hand combat skills fall under this category. Above 9C comes 9B, which is wall level, and the characters who can destroy a wall or possess durability similar to a wall would fall under this category. The best example for this has to be Wallbreaker from Clash of Clans. Any other example for this can't be better than this one. Tier 9A is the highest subcategory inside Tier 9, and it includes characters capable of destroying an entire room or small building. An example for a character on this level would be Hector Salamanca on Wheelchair from Breaking Bad. Now, the scale is going to expand above human level by miles. We now are at Tier 8, which is known as urban level in both the wikis, and it also consists three subcategories. 8C is building level, which means being capable of building level destruction. Well, no shit. The name literally says that. I will now speedrun some of these tiers as there is not much need for specification for some of these tiers. The name says it all. The 8C tier includes both normal building level and also large building level. Above 8C is 8B, which is city block level, and 8A includes multi-city block level characters. Above Tier 8 comes Tier 7, and it is termed nuclear level in both the wikis. Tier 7 includes three subcategories. One is town level, which is the lowest category in Tier 7, which is known as Tier 7C. There are three layers of 7C, which include small town level, and large town level. Above 7C is 7B, which is city level, and this level is split into two parts, which is small city level and city level. Next is Tier 7A, which is mountain level, and it is simple to understand what is the requirement to be on this level. above Tier 7, comes the tectonic level, Tier 6. This tier includes everything from island level to multi-continental level. Basically, all land masses are included in this tier. Tier 6C includes island and large island level characters. Tier 6B includes country level characters. Tier 6A includes continental level characters, and High 6A includes multi-continental level characters. With Tier 5, we have now reached the planetary zone. Tier 5C is for moon level characters. Tier 5B is for planet level characters. 5A is for large planet level or dwarf star level. And now we are at Saitama's current scale, stellar level, or Tier 4. Tier 4 starts off with Tier 4C, star level. There are different size ranges of star, so depending on that, if the star is small then the tier would be low 4C, and if the star is of normal size, then it would be just 4C, and if it is a large star then scale would be high 4C. Tier 4B is solar system level, and that is extremely higher than star level. Above 4B is 4A, which is multi-solar system level. Tier 3 is cosmic level, and the scale is drastically higher than the previous tier. From multi-solar system level, we straight up jump to galaxy level, which is Tier 3C. Tier 3B is multi-galaxy level, and Tier 3A is the end of realistic scale, which is universal level. And by universal level, we mean the observable universe, and everything consisted inside of it, every matter, every planet, star, galaxy, and cosmic structure. A character on this scale should either be able to create or destroy everything which was mentioned before, then, and only then, will they be declared as universal. Now, even though realistically, we don't know about existence of anything outside of a universe, the tiering system will still continue based on hypothetical worlds and scenarios which is backed up by theoretical knowledge of different fields. So from this point, it is basically hierarchy of theories. So now, above universal scale, we have high universal scale or high 3A, which displays infinite amount of power on 3D scale, or basically the power to destroy or create an infinite universe, but not anything higher than 3 dimensions. Now, we are going to approach the multiversal tier of the tiering system, Tier 2C. First layer of Tier 2 is called Universe Level Plus, and a character who displays power to create or destroy a space beyond an infinite 3-dimensional space is included in this tier. Basically, characters capable of destruction of 4-dimensional space and structures would be included in this level, so with destruction of a universe, it would also destroy the 4th dimension of space-time. Hence this scales marginally a lot higher than high universal. Above low Tier 2C, we have low multiversal level as Tier 2C. In this level, characters who are capable of destruction or creation of 2 or 1,000 4-dimensional universal constructs are included. Above Tier 2C, we have Tier 2B, which is multiversal level, which includes characters capable of destruction and creation of multiverses ranging from 1,000 to any finite number above. It could be millions, billions, trillions. Whatever higher finite amount possible would be included here. Above this comes Multiversal Level Plus, or Tier 2A, which contains infinite number of 4D universes, as Tier 2A. And High 2A includes destruction or creation of 5D constructs greater than Multiverse Plus. Therefore this is labeled as High Multiverse Plus. We have finally reached the main part, Tier 1. Tier 1 starts with Tier 1C, which is called complex multiversal, and it includes dimensions from 6D to 11D. It is split into 3 parts: low, normal, and high complex multiversal. First is low complex multiversal, which includes 6-dimensional characters. Next is complex multiversal, which includes 7, 8, and 9-dimensional characters. And last is high complex multiversal, which includes 10 and 11-dimensional characters. After Tier 1C, we have Tier 1B, which is hyperversal level, which includes characters who are 12D to any higher finite dimensions. Above 12D, and above hyperversal, we have high hyperversal or high 1B, which shows a character capable of creating or destroying countable infinite dimensions. Now, we have a big problem here. The next tier is Tier 1A, or also known as outer versal. But there is a big difference in the definition of outer versal in Versus Battle Wiki and CSAP tiering system. And that difference is that according to CSAP's definition of outer versal, characters of that level are free from the concepts of dimensionality and are not limited by them. Whereas Versus Battle Wiki's definition states outer versal to be for characters who are able to create or destroy all of one amount of higher dimensional structure or space. All of one is an uncountable infinity. And note that this is just low outer versal's criteria, and as high hyperversal includes countable infinite hierarchy of dimensions, low outer versal transcends this as it includes all of one, which is wildly superior to countable infinite structures and characters. To be classified as outer versal, you need to be anywhere near the range of all of 2 to higher olofs, and if the character is above infinite steps from baseline outer, then they would be termed as outer versal plus. And to be classified as high outer, you need to be incomparably higher than the entire range of outer versal. And that could be portrayed by an inaccessible cardinal. Inaccessible cardinal is unreachable even in hierarchy of never-ending amount of all of stacked up on each other. So to be on high outer scale, you need to be able to create or destroy structures of level of an inaccessible cardinal, which means dwarfing structures of an all of cardinals range by undefinable margin. According to CSAP, low outer versal includes characters who are beyond all dimensional scales. Outer versal includes characters who transcend characters who are beyond dimensional scales, and characters or structures that dwarf other things that fit the definition of outer verse level to the same extent that an outer verse level character dwarfs anything below that would fall under the definition of high outer versal. So if you see, there is a big difference between both of them, and up until now there was not much difference. But now, there is 2 separate definitions with us, and what we have to use depends on our preference. CSAP's low outer versal is beyond high outer versal and is on level of tier 0 of Versus Battle Wiki as it is completely free from dimensionality, but at the same time, after hyperversal, CSAP stops providing measures for characters. For sure, in scale the tier might be higher, but what is the point of a tier if it does not provide us with any measure? Scaling is a mathematical subject, and Versus Battle Wiki provides scale from a mathematical point of view, whereas Character Stats Wiki provides conceptual-based scaling. So from this point, in the tiering system, I lean more on the side of Versus Battle Wiki, due to it giving more focus on mathematical scaling than conceptual-based scaling that Character Stats and Profile Wiki offers. I prefer mathematical scaling because it is rather more efficient, accurate, proper, and logical than conceptual-based scaling. At one side, to scale at outer versal level, you would have to build a hierarchy of dimensions beyond a certain level of infinity and climb further up the ladder of provable theoretical variations of infinity to scale higher. Whereas on the other side, all you need to reach on that level is some statement stating a character to be above all concepts. It is extremely easy to rank characters in this type of tiering system. Neither does it provide any measure for character, nor does it give any continuity to the tiers that came before. If you observe properly, there is no connection between hyperversal and outer versal at all in Character Stats Wiki. Outerverse breaks the link between previous tiers. Whereas if you observe Versus Battle Wiki, you can see there is a clear connection between hyperversal and outer versal. Unlike Character Stats Wiki, I know some people would say that the reason why there is such a big difference and link breakage between hyper and outer in CSAP is because of the ginormous gap between them. And that, my friend, is the biggest flaw in this tiering system. The gap between hyper and outer has been portrayed way too wider than necessary, and due to this, they have skipped many important tiers which are included by Versus Battle Wiki regarding uncountable infinities like olofs and others. The scaling system should not focus on grander scale alone. They should also focus on covering most of the topics and possible portions than just mindlessly adding higher scaling tiers. And plus that the outer versal tier of CSAP kind of has similarities to no limit fallacy, as the logic behind the tier is almost similar to that of no limits fallacy, like not being limited by dimensions, concepts or anything is kind of connected. But one thing which I like about Character Stats Wiki is that according to what Outerversal is usually suggested to be, CSAP's definition is true to the term and represents what it means. Same could be said for the next tier as at one side. The term is called Boundless in Versus Battle Wiki, and it is called Extraversal in Character Stats Wiki, which is rather better than Boundless. As a verse, having 5 to 6 boundless beings seems stupid, so I think Versus Battle Wiki needs to work on naming tiers, and CSAP is better in the naming part of tiers, but except for that, I personally find Versus Battle Wiki to be a better reference. So moving ahead from Outerversal, we are now at the peak of tiering system, which is termed as Tier 0 Boundless. And now, I would like to clear a big misconception that people who are not much aware of power scaling have. Seeing the term boundless, people with no context would think the tier refers to characters who are literally boundless, but that's not how it works. And due to this misconception, people with no context would find the entire thing to be stupid, as there are like a 10 to 15 boundless characters in some of the verses, which seems absolutely nonsensical. And to be fair, I am on their side on this one, because without any clue, they are just telling what they see and understand from what they see. But the thing is that the name given to this tier is just a fancy term. It is not the criteria to be termed as Tier 0. If you are stated to be not limited by any bounds, then it won't land you directly on the Tier 0 spot, it would land you directly inside the trash can, because you fall under no limits fallacy. So the actual criteria for being in Tier 0 is to unimaginably transcend high Outerversal, which is of the range of inaccessible cardinal. So to be termed as a Tier 0 being, you need to be of the scale equivalent to a Malo cardinal. That's the baseline for boundless. So being equivalent to Malo cardinal lands you at the baseline of Tier 0. So we can go higher than this, can we? We absolutely can. Above boundless, there could be more layers of boundless transcending it, which can be portrayed by other higher large cardinals and axioms. Above Malo, we have Wooden cardinal, which would be layers into boundless. Above Wooden is Sheila cardinal, which would be higher than Wooden in layers into boundless. Above Sheila is Superstrong cardinal. Above Superstrong is Subcompact. Above Subcompact is Compact cardinal, and above Compact is Supercompact, and Enhanced Supercompact, and other variations of Supercompact cardinal. Next is the High Jump cardinal and its variations, and above this comes the axiom of wholeness. And before going further into this mess, I would like to mention the fact that we are way above the terms like infinitely superior or higher. From inaccessible cardinal, we are using ZFC theory to state one cardinal being greater than the other, as no amount of infinity formed through natural number can even come close to reach even all of cardinals, let alone inaccessible cardinals. So from that point, we were using ZFC theory. So in comparison, if a cardinal is more consistent with ZFC or ZFC+, in some cases of larger cardinals, then that particular cardinal would scale higher than the one which is less consistent. So this theory is the reason why we can still continue climbing above in scale. So let's move on. Before mentioning about ZFCs, we stopped at wholeness axiom. Now above that is rank into rank cardinals with axiom 10, 11, 12 and 13 supporting it. An axiom is a statement that is taken to be true, to serve as a premise or starting point for further reasoning and arguments. In simple terms, assumptions taken as truth for a purpose is called axiom. Rank into rank is one of the biggest cardinal axiom till date, which would result in it being extremely high in the scale into boundless. But now, we are going to go beyond proved mathematics for a while. Before that, let me just mention that axioms are extremely important for proving existence of a cardinal. So the greater and precise the axiom is, the greater the cardinal would be. I forgot to mention an important axiom, which is 0 equals 1. 0 equals 1 is such a wild axiom that it starts proving existence of cardinals even greater than what has already been stated. Due to the contradiction, which is 0 being equal to 1, a lot of things change. Therefore, it has a big impact in the entire working of mathematics as a whole if considered to be true, and therefore, it is one of the highest scaling axioms there exists. and it crosses the entire layers of boundless and reaches at the pinnacle of scaling Turing system. Along with 0 equals 1, a Tegmark Type 4 multiverse with set theories amplification would also reach the pinnacle of Turing system. A Tegmark Type 4 basically contains all the possible models of universes, with different working of physics, mathematics, and every other field. All the variations exists inside the Type 4 multiverse, and along with specific mention of set theory, the Type 4 is enhanced for use in scaling, as sets of infinities of the theory are also included in the Type 4 multiverse. A Type 4 multiverse also holds extended modal realism. Extended modal realism is the extension of modal realism. Modal realism suggests that apart from actual world, there could be existence of other possible worlds as well. Extended modal realism suggests that along with possible worlds, impossible worlds also exist, and these worlds hold contradictions as well. So Tegmark Type 4 already includes all possible worlds, so it does hold modal realism, and in mathematics impossibilities are also a possibility. The definition of impossibility is that it is a possibility which has zero probability of occurrence, and hence, in a Type 4 multiverse all possibilities exist. These impossible possibilities also exist inside of it, and contradictions are also present in it. Contradiction are not a new thing to maths. Moving ahead, we now have cardinals which breaks axioms like Berkeley and Reinhardt. Cardinal, Reinhardt is stated to break the axiom of choice, and Berkeley is stated to make even axioms like 0 equals 1 fail. So as these monstrosities are able to break even fundamental axioms of mathematics, they break the Turing system, and are one of the first criteria for being a being beyond Turing system. Next in the line would be V equals ultimate L conjecture, which proves existence of large cardinal axioms, and is also beyond Turing system. And there are some other theories just like these at the top level which break the Turing system. Now, I would like to mention this fact that mathematics is a very complex study, and things I mentioned could be sometimes a bit here and there. As with slight changes the positions of things could shift wildly, and to know these things at high level, you actually need to be extremely knowledgeable. I am not like a professor or anything. My knowledge could have flaws. If you find any, let me know. I am always up for correction. But before moving further, I would like to mention that things at this level are very, very complex and confusing. Cardinals can be measured based on their cardinality or by their consistency strength. And based on interpretations, some cardinals move places from here to there based on their interpretation taken. So be careful regarding using cardinals and scaling. So we are now done with mathematical scaling. But now let's see some interesting stuff. Power scaling inside fiction is limitless, as in fiction, even impossible things are possible, and regardless of whatever is significance of a thing in reality, the similar significance is not necessary to be given in a fictional work. Just because a certain thing is given importance in reality doesn't mean that certain thing would be given that level of importance in a fictional work. Fictional works' control is completely on our hands, so we can add our own logic behind things without being questioned or proven wrong. But in terms of power scaling, there are limits to things, as power scaling is a mathematical and scientific thing. That type of studies are given more importance than others which in real life people believe. So what I am trying to say from this is that in a power scaling related fictional debate, mathematical scaling would be regarded higher than theological, philosophical, and other studies. And I am only talking about this inside of fictional debates and not about real life. So mathematical concepts of infinities, axioms, conjectures and theorems of top scale would be superior to theological scale like apophatic theological absolute infinity, philosophical concepts like Platonic concepts and others of the same range. But they can be scaled above mathematical scale under one condition, and that is that to scale above mathematical scale, first mathematical scale must be proven in the verse. Then layers can be stacked above mathematical scale. So first, you need to firm existence of top mathematical theories. And then you can stack up layers of philosophical, theological, metafictional, or any other form of layer. basically adding your own logic to the verse. This is the only way for these categories to scale above mathematical scale, and as they are above mathematical scale, they are classified as beyond irrelevant layers out of tiering system. After mathematical scaling is broken, there is no longer a measure. Therefore, there is no longer any need for any specific term above this. Everything above this is completely irrelevant.